Hey nerds, what's up? So it is officially spooky season, and I figured it was time to talk about my Halloween costume for this year, as well as implementing and building the whole thing. My husband is a very big sci-fi nerd. I think I have discussed this many a time. And we saw Dune last year. I think that was last year it came out. We thought it would be really fun if he wanted to cosplay as Paul Atreides, aka Timothée Chalamet's character. And if any of you have seen my first time DMing video, then you would have seen that I covered my husband's face with Timothée Chalamet, which is very funny. I do that because he's a very private person and doesn't really like his picture being taken / posted all over the internet. But yeah, so then I thought, well, it's always fun to do a couple's costume. And I thought, what would be super hilarious to pair with Paul Atreides from Dune, but a sandworm. So I have been researching, looking up ideas, kind of like the cheapest way to make it, but also still have like ways to make it look good. And so I've seen a lot of people, like someone made one of those blow up sails, like woo dudes, and I thought that was a good like start. So they made it out of like a foldable laundry hamper, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Or I thought about dog tunnels. So I've been researching those types of things, as well as just measuring my hips and buttocks area, because I have a wide circumference. And I would say that I'm a bit worried about just buying something online and hoping that I will fit in it, because I've measured myself, and the one, like the dog tunnels that I've seen like for sale on Amazon that aren't too expensive, is, as far as I am doing my math right, it's just going to be really close to how I'm fitting. So I have to do some shopping today. So I am putting the most minimal effort I can into looking like a put together human being today, and just gonna go shopping for a few things, as well as look around some stores to see if I can find some hula hoops, see if there's like kid hula hoops that might fit. And then if those things work out, then I will go to other stores to get the other necessary pieces it is to create this costume. Okay, so we were successful with our initial run to Target, so I am gonna probably stop at a fabric store and see if I can find anything, and then I do a little bit further shopping that does not include Halloween, and yeah. I also thought about filming in the store in the aisle that I was finding the hula hoops in, but there were these people in the same aisle, and that is a no-go for me. Too awkward. So I got a great haul for the majority, like the base of the body and the base of the costume. I'm already realizing as I was driving home, I'm gonna need to buy some like paper clay probably to make what I would call like the headpiece or the helmet. Because I was looking and researching and looking at the face and trying to figure out there's like texture and like thickness to the mouth along with the teeth. So I'm thinking I will be able to do both with foam or paper clay. So we will look into that. So I'm going to be using my leftover wire from art school. Thank you, Hoarding Corinne, for holding on to that, and wire cutters to create the skeletal structure for just the outside, like the maw of the worm, just so that when I put clay on it, it is a little bit more stable, because I'm going to be using paper clay, which apparently is one of the more brittle, breakable ones. So that is my idea. So I've made this almost like headphone looking piece that the idea is, once I've wrapped this with tin foil as well as the clay, it's just going to place itself on top of the hoop, which will be this hoop, which will be like the head. And this is gonna go all the way around, and it'll all be connected by some wire. So it'll all be like a pretty substantial headpiece. That's my puppy in the background. So I have the most basic skeletal structure where all of these pieces are at least attached, so that I know that at least they're going on here. I am hoping that with a lot of finagling, adding the, not styrofoam, the aluminum foil and then the clay, that will make it a lot more structured and it will work better. I had to add a metal piece, which I'm really worried that this is going to screw everything up, but I just didn't have quite enough. I didn't make it long enough, and I really did not want to redo the entire process that I've already done. So we'll see if my laziness really screws me up later. Nerds, I am so happy right now because the packing on of the aluminum foil is doing exactly what I want it to do, which is stabilizing all of the placement of my little clasps, basically. So I'm really excited about that. So now that I have this like first base coat wrapping of the structure, I'm going to go back and pack on some more. I'm also going to dry fit it to the hoop, because not only do I need to make sure there is space for the clay that will be going on top, but also knowing that there is going to be fabric as well. So there's going to be a lot of barriers between the hoop and the maw, but I'm okay with that because I'd rather it be tight than loose because I want it to be stable. What is also making me really happy, but also I'm taking note, is that some of these seem a little bit short holding on, but it's holding on, so I'm not worried about, moving, and it doesn't seem like it's going to fall off, which is good. So as long as I keep the kind of tightness that I have, and I'm able to keep that, and maybe again elongate the clasps a little just to make sure it really stays on, I think this is going to work. I also know that the clay will reduce my flexibility of the pieces, so I'm keeping that in mind as well.
For the teeth of the worm, I decided to use my friend's advice to make the teeth out of Eva foam. I made 3 donut shapes so I could see out of the center hole, and made 3 separate donut shapes, each smaller than the last, to create depth inside the mouth. For the body, I decided to hand stitch the entire thing, which in hindsight was probably the hardest way to do it, but I'm an amateur sewer at best. best, and I don't have a sewing machine, so I stubbornly decided to go with it. You can definitely see that it was a rough start, but eventually I fell into a rhythm. Just wanted to show you guys my progress from yesterday. I backstitched one panel together. Is it beautiful? Absolutely not. But I'm not too worried about it because paint and everything is going to cover it up. And then I just finished pinning up the second part that I am going to be working on today. And then I should have a full attached piece ready for the next steps. So I'm trying this method of, I saw a really cool picture, which I'll put up for you guys, of the sandworm bookmarks. And it really looked like the texture of the skin looked kind of like scales. So right now I'm just kind of trying this. This is the bottom piece, so I'm thinking if it I don't like it or just trying out the colors, I think it might look really cool from like super far away. Either that or it's gonna look like a bunch of bricks. But my goal is to make it look kind of scaly. That's the idea. You all enjoyed this very silly and spooky video. I definitely learned a lot from creating this monstrosity. I think the head turned out
really well and basically the way that I envisioned it. Maybe I would have elongated the lower layers so they showed up a little bit more, so there was even more of that depth present. But overall, I think it looks really great, and the fabric turned out really well. I could see through the black fabric of the maw. Obviously, the ratio of the clay maw itself is really small compared to the picture and visuals that I was using and referencing, but honestly, if I made it super big, it would have been really heavy, and I'm already in there basically holding up the structure so that I can move the head around. So I would have also probably thought of trying to make just more structure inside the tube itself, especially around the head, because it looks, I mean, you can tell that someone is in there, and depending on how the fabric is taut or loose, you can really see the outline or the silhouette of my top of my head. So that's fine. The paint job was fine. I think it looks a little bit like a giraffe, but you know, you win some, you lose some. I still think it can also emulate scales, but it was kind of hard to figure out what I wanted to do with the texture. I am glad I painted it and didn't just leave it fabric-wise. Another thing I thought that I definitely learned in hindsight is I should have like dry fitted the fabric, the tube itself, before just diving into painting, because I had to cut off some of the bottom, basically finishing all of the end. It was really, really long. It like trailed on the floor. And so I had to spend a few extra hours to fold in a little bit and basically hem part of the fabric, as well as cutting off some of the end. So I cut off some of my work that I had done of painting and stitching. So definitely needed to dry fit before starting to paint, because painting definitely took the longest. Learned that the hard way as well. But overall, I think it turned out pretty spot on to what I was thinking it was going to look like, and especially for a first time really diving in, making everything from scratch, trying to make it structural as possible. I think it turned out pretty well, and it definitely looks the best from the front. But overall, I think it turned out, it looks like a worm, so I'm very interested to see what you guys think of this costume. Is it super silly? I thought it was hilarious. A great couple's costume idea. So anyway, thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to indulge in my many silly interests, and next year I'm definitely going simpler, or at least maybe not a monster, but more cosplay. I don't know. More person fab outfit cosplay, if that makes sense. Anyway, thanks again so much for watching. Have a safe Halloween, and I'll see you next time.